Let's talk about a corner of the financial world that's famous for two things: being insanely complex and offering absolutely eye-watering salaries. I'm talking about high-frequency trading, or HFT.
Every single year you see headlines with numbers just like this: 1 crore plus for fresh graduates. It's the kind of offer that pulls the absolute sharpest minds in computer science straight into the world of quantitative finance. But, as you might guess, there's a pretty big catch.
The reality is, these incredible opportunities, they're really only for a tiny exclusive group. As one person put it, it's basically a small club of people with top ranks from a very short list of premier colleges. And that creates this massive wall for so many brilliant people who just don't have that specific name on their resume.
That's the big question, isn't it? If you've got the skills, you've got the drive, but you don't have that magic college tag, is the door just slammed shut? Well, that's what we're going to explore. Finding a different door, a whole new way in.
Okay, so first things first. To figure out how to break into this world, we have to understand what these firms are actually doing. How on earth do they make enough money to pay those crazy salaries? Well, it really all boils down to one core idea.
They are what's called market makers. Now, you can think of them as the ultimate middlemen of the stock market. Their job isn't to guess if a stock is going up or down in the long run. No, their job is to stand in the middle, ready to both buy and sell a stock at any given microsecond. This makes trading smoother for everyone else.
And here's exactly how they get paid for being that middleman. Let's take Infosys stock as an example. A market maker puts out two orders at the same time, a price they're willing to buy at, which is called the bid, and a slightly higher price they're willing to sell at, called the ask. That tiny little gap between those two numbers, that's everything. That's the bid-ask spread.
So their entire game is to profit from that 10 paisa difference. They just buy at the low price and sell at the high price. Now, I know what you're thinking. That's nothing, right? But their super fast algorithms do this thousands, maybe even millions of times a day across tons of different stocks. And that is how those tiny pennies stack up into billions.
Of course, if it were that simple, we'd all be doing it from our laptops. So where's the catch? Where's the danger? Because believe me, this isn't free money. There is a very real and very, very fast risk involved here.
The big risk is getting stuck holding on to something you don't want. So, imagine this. Your algorithm buys a stock, fully expecting to sell it a millisecond later for that tiny profit. But right in that instant, some bad news about the company hits, and the stock price just tanks. Now you're stuck holding a losing position. Their entire job is managing that risk every single nanosecond of the day.
Okay, so now we know what they do. Let's dig into why this whole industry is so ridiculously exclusive. To win at this game, you need a few huge advantages, or alphas, as they call them. First up, and this is a big one, capital. You need access to millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars. This cash acts like a giant cushion to absorb those losses we just talked about, and it lets them place enormous orders. You and we just can't show up with that kind of bankroll. Second, you have the infrastructure. And this is where it starts to sound like science fiction. These firms pay a fortune to put their computer servers in the exact same building, the same data center, as the stock exchange itself. Why? Because electricity travels through wires at a certain speed, and by being physically closer, they get their orders in nanoseconds faster than anyone else. The speed of light is literally a limitation they are trying to beat. And the third advantage is a kind of expertise that you just don't learn in a typical college course. We're talking about engineers who write code directly for the computer hardware, for the chips themselves, just to shave off a few more microseconds of processing time. It's an incredibly specialized skill. So you put all that together, the giant piles of cash, the elite custom-built infrastructure, and this super niche expertise. The barrier to entry is just so incredibly high that firms take a shortcut when they hire. They just go to the few places that are known for producing people who can handle that kind of insane pressure and complexity. And that's why pedigree becomes the key. But this is where the story gets really interesting. If the traditional game seems rigged, if the walls are just too high, well, maybe the answer isn't to keep trying to climb that wall. Maybe the answer is to go find a whole new game, one where the rules are still being written.
And that new game is decentralized finance, or DeFi. You can think of it as a parallel financial system that's being built from the ground up on blockchains. It's open, it's transparent, and most importantly, it's native to the internet. The old gatekeepers and their physical advantages, like being in the same building as the exchange, they just don't matter as much here.
Just look at this comparison. It tells the whole story. In traditional HFT, the barrier to entry is your pedigree. In DeFi, it's your skills. Traditional finance is a closed, gate-kept system. DeFi is permissionless. It's open to literally anyone with a laptop. And here's the biggest difference. Instead of just fighting for a job at a big firm, you have a real chance to build your own thing.
I mean, let that sink in for a second. We are watching the entire financial market get rebuilt piece by piece on these new digital rails. The trading volume on just one blockchain, Solana, is already a significant fraction of a major stock exchange like NASDAQ. This is a fundamental shift, and we are still in the very, very early innings. And that's where the real opportunity is.
So this all sounds pretty exciting, but what does it actually mean for you? If you're that person on the outside looking in, how do you start walking this new path? Well, here's a clear, actionable roadmap.
It starts with learning the new fundamentals, things like automated market makers or liquidity pools. Then you have to apply that knowledge by actually building something, even if it's small. After that, you take what you've built and you enter a public hackathon. This is your stage. It's where you prove, in a very public and undeniable way, what you are capable of.
And this right here is the key takeaway of this whole thing. In this new emerging world of DeFi, a portfolio of projects you've actually built, a GitHub account full of your code, or a prize from a hackathon, that becomes your resume. It speaks so much louder than any college name because it is direct, undeniable proof of your skill and your drive.
So the choice is becoming clearer and clearer. You can keep knocking on the door of that old, closed club, hoping they let you in. Or you can pick up the tools that are right there, available to everyone, and you can start building the new club yourself. The only question is, which one are you going to build?